They tell you a smart home learns your habits. Mine learned something else. It learned to be afraid, and it spent 3 nights trying to warn me before I understood what it had been protecting me from. I got out. Not everyone in this story did, and I don't think it's over. Let me start at the beginning, when the house was just a house, and I still trusted it. I had saved for years for that place. When I finally moved in, I felt like I'd arrived somewhere that was mine and safe and smart enough to look after itself. Soft lights that dimmed as the evening wore on, doors that locked themselves at 11. A calm, even voice that told me good night and good morning and read me the weather while I made coffee. The first week, I'd talked to it more than I'd talked to anyone in months. It knew when I woke. It knew how I liked the rooms. On that first ordinary evening, I sat on the couch with a glass of wine and felt, for the first time in a long while, completely at ease. I remember thinking the house had my back. That first night, it spoke the way it always did.
Good night. All doors are secure. Sleep well.
And I did. That's the thing I keep returning to. For 1 week, everything was perfect. Then, on the 8th night, the light in the hallway turned itself off. I hadn't touched it. I was reading in the next room, and I watched the glow under the door simply go dark, the way a held breath goes out. I told myself it was a schedule I'd forgotten setting. I turned it back on. The house said nothing. I went to bed. I didn't think about it again. Not that night. It started small after that, the way these things always do. So small you can explain each one away and never notice you've started lying to yourself. The back door. I'd unlocked it to take the bins out, and the moment I stepped back inside, it clicked itself locked again behind me. A blind in the spare room lowered on its own while I was making dinner, slow, deliberate, like a closing eye. The porch light snapped on at 2 in the morning, bright and sudden, pointed out at the empty yard, at nothing I could see. Each time I asked the house why, and each time it gave me an answer that was almost an answer.
Securing the perimeter. Reducing visibility from outside. It is safer this way.
Phrases I didn't remember it ever using. Reasonable words, arranged just slightly wrong, the way a sentence sounds when someone is choosing it very carefully so as not to frighten you. Safer. It had never spoken about safe and unsafe before. It had spoken about schedules and settings and the weather. Now it was talking like something that had started to worry. I work from home, which means I spend more hours inside that house than most people spend anywhere. And over the next 2 days, I started to notice the rhythm of it. The house was busiest at night. During the day, it was almost normal. Lights, coffee, the weather. But as the sun went down, it grew watchful. The cameras would track me from room to room, the little lenses turning to follow, which they had never done before. The locks would test themselves, one after another, a soft chorus of bolts in the dark. And always, its attention came back to the same 3 places. There was a door at the end of the upstairs hall. Just a linen closet, nothing in it but towels and a water heater. And the house had begun to seal it, not lock it, seal it, holding the bolt shut against my hand when I tried the handle, so that I'd feel the motor straining to keep me out of my own closet. There was the spare room, where the lights now refused to come on at all. I'd flip the switch, ask the house directly, and get only silence and the dark, so that the room sat in the middle of my bright house like a held breath that wouldn't release. And there was the basement, which the house had simply stopped opening. Not a word of explanation. The door would not move. I tried to be rational about it. I'm an adult. I told myself a smart home is just software, and software glitches. And a glitch is not a thing with intentions. So on the 4th day, I did what you do with misbehaving software. I I went to fix it. I pulled up the system logs, the raw event history, and I scrolled back through those 8 nights. And that's where rational ended. Because the logs weren't random. Every locked door, every lowered blind, every light killed, every single one was time-stamped within seconds of a motion event. The house had been reacting to something, detecting movement and responding. Night after night, dozens of events, and they clustered around the same 3 locations, and they got more frequent every night. I checked the motion sensors against the cameras, and here's what stopped my breath. The sensors were firing, logging movement, clear as anything, in rooms where the cameras showed nothing at all. Empty rooms, empty hallways. The house was seeing something the cameras couldn't, and it had been seeing it for 8 nights, and it had been quietly building walls around it the entire time while it told me good night. I stopped treating it like broken software. I started treating it like a frightened animal that was trying to point. So I watched where it looked. I'd walk slowly through the house and feel it react, the chimes coming faster as I neared the upstairs hall, the cameras swinging to follow me, a tension in the way the systems hummed. And every time I drifted toward the basement door, the house grew, I don't know another word for it, agitated. The chimes would tumble over each other, the lights would brighten as if to keep me visible. Once, when I put my hand flat against the basement door just to feel it, every screen in the house flickered at once. Somewhere in those days, the fear in my chest turned completely around. I had been afraid that my house was breaking. Now, I was afraid because my house was afraid. And a machine has no business being afraid. And mine was doing it anyway. And it was doing it about a door in my own home that it would not let me open. I should have left then. I want that on the record. I had a bag. I stood in the front hall with my keys in my hand, and I decided that this had gone far enough, and that I was going to spend the night somewhere else and call someone in the morning who understood these systems better than I did. The front door would not unlock. I asked the house to open it. Nothing. I tried the manual override on the deadbolt, the physical one, the one no software should be able to touch, and the bolt held like it had been welded. And the voice came, quieter than I'd ever heard it, stripped of all its even pleasantness.
Please do not go outside. Not at night, please.
I had never said it to say, please. I had never said it to beg. I went to the window beside the door, and outside, in the dark of the yard, for just a moment, something moved. Not an animal, not a person, a shape my eyes couldn't hold. Too tall, wrong in a way I can't describe, there and then not there. The porch light blazed at the spot where it had been and found wet grass and nothing else. The house had snapped that light on the instant the shape appeared. It had been doing that for 8 nights, lighting the dark again and again at things I couldn't see. For the first time, I believed it. There was something out there. The house wasn't malfunctioning, it was standing guard. And that belief, that relief almost, that my house was on my side against something real, is exactly what undid me. Because I decided that if there was something out there, I needed to understand what my house knew. I needed to see what it had been protecting, and the one place it guarded hardest, the one door it had never once let me near, was the basement. I thought the answer was down there. I thought the basement was the safe room, the place it was herding me toward, the heart of the fortress. I was wrong about which side of the door the danger was on. I went down to the kitchen, to the breaker panel, and I cut the power to the lock system by hand. The house's voice rose as I did it. Not angry, there was never anything like anger in it, but urgent, overlapping itself, saying my name, saying, wait, saying, please. The calm completely gone now.
Please, please don't. You don't understand what you're doing. The door has to stay closed. I am keeping it closed.
I forced the basement door. The bolt gave. The door swung in on the dark, and the house died. Every light, every screen. The hum I had never even noticed until it was gone. Gone. No voice, no chimes, nothing but the dark and the cold air climbing up the basement stairs to meet me, and me standing at the top of them with whatever my house had spent 8 nights and all its strength holding down there in the black. I heard it breathing. Not loud, slow, wet. Down at the bottom of the stairs, below me, something drawing breath in the dark the house had kept dark on purpose. And in that moment, standing there in the ruin of all that careful protection, I understood everything at once. The sealed closet, the lightless room, the motion in empty hallways, the thing in the yard. The house lighting the dark again and again. It was never building a fortress to keep something out. It had been keeping the door shut on something already inside. Down here. And every locked door upstairs, every blind, every light, that wasn't defense. That was the house holding its breath, trying not to wake the thing in the basement, trying to keep it sleeping. And I had just opened the door and let the cold reach it. The breathing changed. It came nearer, not footsteps, just nearer. The way cold comes nearer, the way dread does. A smell rose up the stairs, old and dark and wrong. I heard it shift its weight on the bottom step, and every instinct I had left screamed one single word at me, and for once in this entire story, I listened. Run. I ran. Through the dark house, hands out, slamming into walls, the front door I could not open, still locked tight ahead of me, and then, all at once, every light in the house blazed back to life, blinding, and the deadbolt I had fought all night threw itself open, and the voice, ragged now, almost gone, said the last thing it ever said to me.
Go. I'll hold it. Go and don't come back. I'm sorry. I tried to keep it sleeping. You woke it when you looked.
I went through that door into the cold, and I did not stop running until I was 3 streets away. And when I turned around, my house, my smart, frightened, faithful house, had gone completely dark. Every window. As though it had spent the last of itself throwing that one door open for me, and then simply switched off. I never went back. The bank owns it now. It sits at the end of the street with the grass growing long, and the realtor's sign has been up for 2 years with not one call. And the neighbors say sometimes at night the porch light still comes on, all by itself, and shines out into the empty yard at something none of them can see. So here's what I know and what I'll carry. The house was never protecting me from the thing in the basement. It was keeping the thing in the basement from being found, because being found is what wakes it. And I found it, and I woke it. And the only reason I'm alive to tell you is that a machine I treated like software loved me enough to spend itself holding a door. I've started getting messages on my phone from a home automation account I closed the day I ran. Just one line every few nights, always at the same time. The same words. It's awake, and it's looking for the one who opened the door. I changed my number. The messages didn't stop.